Mill's views on women. J.S. Mill championed for nearly his entire life for gender equality beginning at the age of 17 when he distributed pamphlets promoting birth control. Mill's writings on feminism intensified when he met his future wife Harriet Taylor. During his 7-year stint in Parliament, he sponsored the Women's Suffrage Amendment to the Reform Act of 1867. The following year, Mill co-sponsored the Married Women's Property Bill, which aimed to give married women the same rights as unmarried women to own and dispose of land. His fight for emancipation of women clearly showed that he was a dedicated feminist who continued his fight until the day he died. In his essay, Subjugation of Women in 1869, he wrote about the existing social relations and legal subordination of women, which was an hindrance to human development, and to replace it with the principle of perfect equality in which men and women are equal in society, politics, education, and profession. Mill believed that inequality just did not separate men and women into different spheres, but it provided legal support to husbands to dominate their wives' lives and hinder their prospects. Mill viewed this legal and social inequality between sexes as an outdated and barbaric institution existing throughout centuries, which he felt was a relic from the past when might was right and had no place in the modern world. The social norms in the Victorian era. In the Victorian era, women's upbringing and education focused on how to find a suitable partner for marriage. After marriage, they were to stay at home, raise children, submit to husband, and perform household chores. Thus, the Victorian marriage contract gave the husband complete control of the family, finances, her personal property, and even children. Therefore, Mill wrote that marriage is the only actual bondage known to our law. There remain no legal slaves except the mistress of every house. Thus, the institution of marriage perpetuated women's oppression. The laws of the Victorian era deprived a wife of the legal status outside of her husband's authority. Therefore, to Mill, marriage was not a meaningful choice but a cruel necessity forced on women by depriving them of any realistic alternative to marriage. Moreover, due to societal pressures, professional and educational opportunities were not open to women. So for a woman, marriage was a take it or leave it affair. As a result, Mill held that the unequal relationship cannot make a truly open, supportive, and affectionate married life. The views of Victorian men. On the basis of natural inferiority, men deprived women of right to vote, access to education, and barred them from different professions. According to Mill, men held on to the idea of subordination of women because males could not tolerate the idea of living with an equal. To Mill, this difference on the basis of natural inferiority was artificial, and on the question of natural to the two sexes could be described by allowing both to develop and use their faculties freely. The negative impact. Mill believed that exclusion of women from the public sphere was due to subjugation of women in the private sphere. This subordination, Mill feared, would mold women to be dull, petty, or unprincipled and lacking public spirit. This provided a false sense of superiority to men and to young boys who emulated their elders. This subordination had a negative impact not only on the lives of women but also of men. Legal reforms. Mill held that legal reforms were necessary, but it was difficult to legislate such reforms because those who got elected stood for subordination of women and domination of men. These MPs framed policies which were not in favor of women. But Mill believed that policies was essentials to protect women's interest and to stand on their own feet morally and intellectually and to secure right to property, equal custodial rights of children and equal grounds for legal separation was necessary. Mill believed that to secure the above rights, it was essential for women to enjoy franchise. This franchise would enable them to have a say with regard to framing of the above policies. Mill in 1866 presented a petition to the House of Commons of over 1,500 signatures in favor of women's suffrage. He tabled the Women's Suffrage Amendment to the Reforms Act of 1867 and in 1868 tabled the Married Women's Property Bill. Emancipation of women. J.S. Mill believed that the points mentioned below would lead to emancipation of women. First point, family. Mill believed that a well-educated wife would provide not only companionship but also improve marital relationship, which would instill an ethos of equality in the next generation. Mill believed that family could become a school of sympathy and equality of living together in love without power of one side or obedience to the other. Second, development. Mill argued that if women were educated and socially empowered, it would give women opportunity to work outside their home, which would enable them to develop their talents, secure personal happiness, financial stability, and ensure dignity. This would contribute to the development of society as a whole. Third, individual choice. Mill held that freedom of individual choice was the most effective means of achieving progress. Fourth, opportunity necessary. Mill held that women could excel in any arena provided they were given opportunity to try. Thus, he refuted prejudices of his contemporaries who believed that men had larger brains than women and so more intelligent by providing evidences of Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Victoria. Fifth, support of men. Mill wanted to convince people of the need for social reform and to prove to men the benefits of equality. He realized that if women were to be emancipated, it was necessary for men to support women in considerable number in their fight for equality. Thus, it is clear that his argument was based on liberal principle on the basis of which he demanded equal opportunities and free choice for individuals. And his demand for well-being of the maximum number of people was based on the utilitarian principle. Apart from the state creating a conducive atmosphere where individual rights are protected and where experiments of living continue within a climate of tolerance and free living, what is important is voluntary cooperation among people, which would bring transformation of human opinions through which progress can be generated.